Welcome to phase 3 of the strength and range of motion portion of Reviving You. Before you work through this video, make sure that you've had a chance to do both phases 1 and 2, and that all of the work in those videos feels pretty accessible at this point before moving on. Things that you might need for today's practice: 1, your stretchy band. If you don't have one yet, we're only using it for a portion of this, so you can still do this video and then come back to that part when you do have a stretchy band. If you have a foam roller nearby, there will be one point where we have the option to use it. Not 100% necessary, but if you do have it, just have one nearby. Same thing for yoga blocks. Don't have to have them, but they can be nice to have around as we start to add a little flow to some of our work. So if you don't have those, again, don't worry about it. Today's work, we've already worked a lot on range of motion, so we'll continue to work with that, but start to add a little bit more flow, a little bit more strength work, and then also a good bit of core work. How do we re-strengthen here and then coordinate that strength with the way our arms and legs and torso move throughout our day? So bringing all that to mind, those are the things that we're going to really start to focus on in this phase. We're going to start reclined on our backs. As you roll down to your back, make your feet a little wider than hip distance once you're down. So roll down first. Let's get there first. And then I'll tilt toward the camera. So you're going to come down. If it's not the best idea for you to roll straight back yet, you can always roll to your side as a means of getting down to the mat. Now, your legs will begin like this, a little wider than hip distance with the knees resting together. The belly is nice and soft. So from here, take a moment and just rest your hands on your belly. Soften your gaze or close your eyes. Begin to notice the rise and fall of your belly with your breath. Smooth out any kinks in your breath. So if you're clenching your breath anywhere, just make that smooth transition from inhale to exhale. And for this moment, for this practice, letting go of where you've been, letting go of where you might be headed, and allowing yourself to land in this present moment. So just being present for your practice. And before we move on, if you have set that powerful intention that you're returning to each and every practice, or if you would like to set one now, maybe bringing that to mind and repeating it silently a time or two to yourself. From here, I should have told you to bring your block close by, first of all. If you have your block nearby, place a block between your knees after you've walked your feet about hip distance apart. If you do not have a block, no worries. Just pretend like there's one in between your knees because that's about the distance you want to keep. And then if you think about your ankles, your knees, your hips, your shoulders, they're all in one line. So take a moment and make sure that they are. And then one shoulder at a time, lift that shoulder away from the mat, draw the shoulder blade down your back. So now notice on the side you did that, maybe you feel a little more open across the collarbone, and that shoulder blade is resting pretty much right there flat on your mat, and then match the other side with that. From here, and this is especially important if your movement patterns have changed since your operation, if you have had a pap flap or deep flap where we have really altered what's going on in the glutes, the hips, the belly, take a moment and bring your thumbs to your lowest rib on each side, and then your middle finger is going to come to the crests of your hips. So if you were to slide your fingers and thumbs together, the distance should be pretty much equal. If you have this big discrepancy, it usually means that you're hiking one hip up and that we're in a really malaligned place in our body. And so we want to find that alignment before we begin to move. So shifting your hips left and right until you feel like those things are even. Maybe keeping your fingertips there as we begin, eventually we can move them. On your inhale, press your tailbone down and arch your low back away from the mat. So if you could see here, I've created enough space that I could slide my hand under the low back. On your exhale, the muscles of the pelvic floor draw up, so the muscles between the sit bones, the belly button draws in. You curl your tailbone, tuck your tailbone, press your low back into the mat. So we're tilting back and forth. On your inhale, we tilt toward the tailbone, we arch the low back, the belly balloons. On the exhale, we zip the belly, tuck the tailbone, press the low back into the mat, and then follow your breath. Every inhale, you'll arch. Every exhale, you curl the tailbone, press the low back into the mat, and really engage the muscles of the belly. As you do this, you should feel really steady in your hips, and right there, the ribs should stay stable. So that space between ribs and hips should stay the same throughout. Whether you're moving back or forth, they stay the same. Every exhale, you're completely releasing your breath. The belly button draws in, low back presses down. Let's do that one more time. Deep breath in, arch the back, balloon the belly. Exhale, tuck the tailbone, press the low back into the mat, and then come back to a neutral spine. So if you had that block, you can take it away for a moment and rock your knees left to right, release those muscles. From here, we're going to do that same motion again, that inhale to arch, exhale to scoop and tuck the tailbone. But this time we're going to add a little lift of the hips. If you have your block, place it between your knees. If not, just keep your knees hip distance apart. This time, arms are going to come to rest next to the body with palms down. If the shoulder blades have crept up, draw them back down the back. On your inhale, arch the back, balloon the belly. On the exhale, if you have that block, gentle squeeze. Tuck the tailbone, zip the belly, and then one vertebrae at a time. Peel the hips up. Pause at the top for a little inhale. On your exhale, tuck the tailbone and roll one vertebrae down at a time. And then repeat. Every inhale, the belly balloons. We arch the low back. Every exhale, we zip the belly, tuck the tailbone, and keep peeling up until we're in a bridge. So here, how far should you go? Well, you go until you feel a gentle edge. So your hips might come off the floor an inch, or they might lift higher. You always are working against that gentle edge, using that balance of intend and allow, so not forcing. So we're rolling up and down. As the hips leave the floor, everything else that's still touching is heavy. Your feet are heavy, your palms are heavy, shoulder blades are heavy, the back of the head, very heavy, pressing into the mat. Roll down. We're going to roll up and down one more time. Deep breath in. On your exhale, tuck the tailbone. Everything that's staying on the mat is pressing heavy as the hips rise up. When you come all the way back down, if you have that block nearby, you can remove it. And then again, windshield wipering the knees. So the knees can rock back and forth. It might also feel nice to stretch legs out one at a time. So lengthen them and then bend the knees. And then from here, we're going to find some toe taps. This is excellent, excellent, excellent for deeply strengthening the core while protecting the back and then coordinating the core with the movement of the legs. What's going to be really important here is that you tuck the tailbone. So if you were a puppy dog and you were trying to tuck your tail between your legs, that's a good example of how this feels. And then your very low back is going to be pressing into the mat. So you want to keep that connection low back into the mat the whole time. If you feel it peeling up, we might be taking the foot too far. So I'll talk you through that. Keeping your left foot down, Bring your right foot or right leg into a reverse tabletop position. So from here, zip the belly and let's bring left knee up to meet the right. Now, tuck the tailbone and press the low back in. We're actually going to hold on to the left knee with the left hand, but keep drawing that belly in. You can even rest your right hand there on your belly to remind you to keep it active. Take a deep breath in. On the exhale, we're going to tap right toes down. I think my roller's in the way. There we go. Inhale, come back to tabletop. Exhale, slowly hinge to tap down. Now, you want to keep your low back imprinting into the mat. So keep your low back connected with the mat so it does not peel up as you tap down and up. If you feel your back starting to peel away from the mat, reduce your range of motion. So maybe the toe doesn't come down to the floor just yet. Maybe that takes a little more time, and that's okay. We always, again, want to find that edge, and that's where we work. But to keep this engagement in the belly and keep the low back safe, that's what we're going to do is keep pressing that back in. Last one here, and then you have an option here to hug your knees close and maybe give a little rock back and forth, or to windshield wiper your knees again like we did a moment ago. So you have free will. Do the thing that feels the best to you. From here, I'm going to give a little scooch back so I'm not bumping into my foam roller. Once again, we're going to bring knees to tabletop. If you feel your low back peeling away, give that tuck of the tailbone, zip of the belly, pressing low back in. This time, right hand is going to support the right knee. Maybe the left hand is on the belly, reminding it to stay really engaged. Take a deep breath in here. On your exhale, with that tucked tailbone, begin to tap left toes down toward the mat. Inhale, return to tabletop. Exhale, tap down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, tap. Remember, if the low back is peeling up, really press it down. And if it keeps peeling up, then reduce your range of motion. Maybe this leg moves a few inches. If you feel great challenge, that is where you want to be. We're going to tap down 2 more times. And then again, find your reprieve. So either hug the knees close, or you could windshield wiper the knees. Back and forth. And then from here, we're going to add a little side to side work. Maybe bring the feet down for just a moment. Let the belly relax. Take a couple of big belly breaths. How big can you make your belly on the inhale? So it's important that our bellies know how to move in both directions. From here, take the arms out to the sides with the palms facing up, but your arms are going to be nice and heavy here. We're going to bring the legs back to tabletop and zip them together with your arms and shoulders heavy. Take a deep breath in. On your exhale, begin to drop them toward the right. So the left hip is going to come up, but that left shoulder stays on the mat. When you feel like that shoulder is about to come up, that's as far as you take it. So you'll see I'm nowhere near the ground here. Belly zips as we come back to center. Take an inhale. On your exhale, right shoulder stays heavy, legs stay zipped as they tilt over to the left. We're going to do this 4 more times. So each time you take your legs over to the side, so to the right now, opposite shoulder, that left shoulder is really heavy. You might feel your range of motion increasing. You might not, but just notice where your legs go along the way. So right shoulder is heavy as we take legs to the left. And then we're back to the center. 1 more time each side. Deep breath in to prepare. Exhale to the side. Inhale back to center. And then exhale over to side. When you come back to center this time, one at a time, drop those feet down. Maybe Swing the legs left and right very gently, and then we'll find a spinal twist. So here the palms can continue to face up, or if you prefer them down, you can do that too. But we're going to drop the knees over to the right. I like to give a little lift of my hips before I drop them down. And then once you're here, your gaze can continue to be up, or you can take your gaze over to the left. Also, your right hand might stay where it is, or it might support that left thigh. Take a long, deep breath in, and an even longer exhale. On your next exhale, gently engage your belly. So zip your belly, knees come back to the center, and then we'll spinal twist to the opposite side. So this time, knees will drop to the left. Again, I like to lift my hips a tiny bit and shift them over before my knees drop, but you can play with it. So listen to your body. Again, the arms might continue to reach out to the sides, or the left hand could draw that right knee up. Your gaze can be left, up, or right. Deep, deep breaths. We're going to ease back to center. And from here, we're actually going to take it over to our bellies. You can roll straight over, or you can rock and roll up to go over. I'm going to do that because I might want that foam roller in a minute, and it's at that end of my mat. But you can also just roll over to your tummy. From here, we're going to find Sphinx posture. So make your way slowly to your belly. Legs are long and reaching behind the body. Palms are facing down. Elbows are beneath your shoulders. So careful to not have them way out to the sides. You want them under the shoulders. The belly is really zipped, and then you're going to press heavy through the shoulders. Notice the shoulders drawing away from the ears. And again, the elbows are pressing very, very heavy here. One more deep breath here. And then soften down. Maybe stack your palms or stack your fists. You can turn the head to one side for a deep breath, maybe releasing the neck. And then to the opposite side, deep breath in. And then back to center. From here, we're going to make our way back to our knees. So you're going to find forearms briefly, shift the weight of your hips back, and then walk the knees a little closer. From here, bring your fingers together and clasp your hands. We still have the elbows close to the shoulders, but they're just a little bit wider now. The hips are high, so take a moment and make sure your knees, left knee matches the right knee. Make sure they're aligned. And then again, you're going to press very heavy through the elbows to push the weight of your body back. Take a deep breath in, and then on the exhale, knit your ribs together. So almost like you could pull your ribs down toward your hips. So take a deep breath in, the rib cage expands. On the exhale, the belly zips, and then the rib cage really draws down. You're still pressing through the elbows. Take a deep breath in. On your exhale, engage the belly, and then knit the ribs together and draw them away from your armpits.
2 more breaths just like that. Deep breath in and out. Once more, deep breath in and out. And then ease your body forward again. So slowly walk out on the forearms and then soften all the way down. Maybe rest your head down and soften your muscles here for a couple of breaths. So we're working a lot now on strengthening the back muscles while opening up the front of the body. So, depending on if you had implant reconstruction and you have incisions here, or if you had DIEP and you had all these incisions, very likely for weeks your posture is very curled forward to protect those incisions. So we lose a lot of flexibility there. Plus, there's a lot of scar tissue, and then our backs get really kind of stretched out in this forward motion, but maybe loses a little bit of strength on the lift. So here you have a couple of options, and it depends on where you are with your range of motion at this moment in time. You can come back to Sphinx and continue pressing through the elbows, zipping the belly, and working on strength and range of motion that way. If this feels really accessible, you can add a little work with the foam roller, but make sure that this feels okay. If we're not feeling um, really great here yet, then stay here or go down and breathe and then come back up. Don't add the foam roller until you think you're ready for that. So if you choose foam roller, you're going to come down low and your palms face one another. And the foam roller is maybe a few inches higher than your wrist, so toward your armpits. And then look at left arm, right arm. Make sure they're even. Sometimes if you've had damage where lymph nodes were removed, you have less sensation in one arm, and this is true of my right arm, tends to just sort of out to the side. So align those arms and then make them very heavy. Take a deep breath in, gently roll the foam roller away, and literally, it might probably move less than an inch. On your exhale, draw the shoulder blades down the back, press heavy through the arms. You're not rising up very much yet. Inhale, roll forward and reach. On your exhale, just like those dolphin, that breath work we just did, where you're drawing your rib cage down towards your hips. Inhale, roll the foam roller away. Exhale, draw the shoulder blades down the back, draw the rib cage down, knit the ribs together. We're going to do that once more. And then you can keep with the same range of motion, or we can bring the foam roller up just a little bit closer to the elbows. The motion is the same. On your inhale, the shoulder blades lift just a little bit so shoulders come up toward the ears with that zipped belly. Then we're going to roll the shoulder blades down the back, press heavy through the arms. Keep pressing heavy, keep the arms even as we rise up. Pressing heavy into that roller with just as much control, come back down. And then start it all over again. Inhale, the shoulders shrug up. Exhale, shoulder blades draw down the back. The belly is zipping. Arms are heavy as you press and rise. So we're going to do one more together. Since this is a recording, any of these exercises or postures that we find, if you want to pause and spend a little more time on them, you certainly can. So now when you come back down, if you're in Sphinx, come down with us. You can move that out of the way. Then we're going to make our way to all fours. So from here, a little variation of child's where we'll open up the side body. Walk your hands over toward the right just a little bit. So you're curving to the right. And then on your exhale, let's drop that right shoulder, right elbow down. And then we might rise back up again. And so you might go up and down a few times until you find a good place to pause. Then we're going to come back up, walk through to the opposite side, and repeat. Deep breath in. On your exhale, left arm lowers, right arm reaches long. And so you can hold here or you can come up and down another time or two before you pause. From here, lift back onto the palms of your hands, return to center, and then maybe we take a brief child's pose. So the hips soften down toward the heels, arms can reach overhead, or you might rest on your forearms if that creates discomfort in your shoulders. And then from here, we're going to make our way to stand. So easing to all fours, tucking the toes under, walking yourself back until you're balancing on your toes. The legs begin to straighten, heels soften down. From here, let's roll up one vertebrae at a time. If the backs of your legs feel really tight, put a bend in your knees. Let your head and your arms hang. On your next exhale, draw your belly button in. Lift the muscles between the sit bones, and then start to roll up one vertebrae at a time. So slowly, slowly coming to stand. Once you are all the way up, locate your stretchy band. So from here, you want your hands close to either end, and then we're going to step on the center. Start with one foot in front. We're going to end up doing both sides, so either one. So your feet are a few inches apart. Just make sure that you feel balanced. Both legs are heavy. And I'm going to work my hands a little closer to the ends because mine feels a little bit tight. So from here, notice your belly muscles. If you have let them go, you might feel like your belly is rocking forward. I'm going to go to the side. This is an exaggeration, but you may feel like this. So imagine a zipper. If you're zipping your belly up, you might notice this, again, tiny tuck of the tailbone. And we're sitting up or standing up nice and tall. Notice your shoulders too. If they're, rounding forward, we're going to open them up. Keep the belly engaged and the rib cage down. On your next inhale, get really tall. On your exhale, press back. Inhale the arms forward, and then exhale, push them back. Inhale them forward. Avoid like twisting through your torso here. So you want to keep your shoulders aligned as you push back. This might feel harder on one arm than the other, but try to keep your arms moving together, moving evenly. And you can play with the tension by where you hold on to your stretchy band. So pressing back one more time. From here, we'll do a high row. So I'm going to turn to face you once again because I think that will make more sense. So again, you're zipped here, engaged through the belly, and then we're going to bring the elbows wide and lift. So this is as high as I can go right now without curling forward and fighting through it. So you want to lift your elbows as high as you can without that curl forward. So without losing that alignment. So lifting and lowering. Lift and lower. Keep breathing. You can assign an inhale or an exhale to the lift, but either inhale or exhale here and then do the opposite as you lower. Do what makes sense in your body, but keep your breath long and match your movement to your breath. We're going to lift 2 more times. And then you're going to come down, maybe roll those shoulders out. With your band still in your hand, rotate so that you've got your thumbs are up. So you're giving a thumbs up.
And we're going to come out in the front. We're going to do one arm at a time. So maybe starting with your left arm, we're going to lift and lower. Lift and lower. Notice the steadiness in the shoulder. So again, as you lift up, the shoulder stays steady and this rib cage stays down. We're going to lift one more time. And then back down. Next arm. So lift and lower. Lift and lower. 2 more times. And again, just maybe noticing, is this side more accessible, less accessible? So over time, then, you might want to give a little more attention to one arm than the other, whichever needs the most TLC. Now, depending on how much time you have, if you have time, swap this to the other foot and then repeat what we just did. In the interest of time, we'll keep moving, but if you want to work some more through here, repeat those. So we're going to move this to the side, and now we're going to add a little, I think my mat has slid around. We're going to make our way through a modified sun salutation, and then we'll do, I'll give you options for how this might change as you go along. So you want to begin maybe about middle to top third of your mat. Your feet are about hip distance apart. And again, we're zipped through the belly. There will be times when we reach overhead. If your arms don't go all the way overhead yet, that's okay. You take them to that nice gentle edge and we'll move from there. This first time through, I'm gonna give lots of options for deep bends in your knees, and then I'll give some options if you want to change that up. So as you inhale, press heavy through your feet, engage the muscles of your thighs and your glutes. Inhale, reach the arms up and overhead. On your exhale, the palms come together, hands melt down to heart center. Deep breaths. Inhale, reach overhead again. On the exhale, we're going to find a forward fold. If it's been a while or if you've never forward folded, put a nice bend in your knees first, and then split the palms and melt your torso over. So let your head hang, let your shoulders release. On your inhale, flat back lengthen. So bring your hands to maybe ankles or shins and lift halfway. Belly is zipped, spine is long, crown of the head reaching, chin comes a little closer to the chest. On your exhale, we're going to step or float the feet back. So bend the knees deeply, hands come down to the mat. I suggest stepping here. So we're going to take one leg at a time back, and then we're going to drop the knees down. Take a deep breath in. On your next exhale, we're going to lower the upper body down. Now, if this from your knees does not feel accessible at all, lower to your forearms and walk yourself down. You can also bend through both elbows to bring the chest down. On your next inhale, we'll find baby cobra. So draw the elbows close to the body, zip the belly, draw the shoulder blades down the back, and give a little lift. Now with that engaged belly, on your next exhale, we'll give a little lift and we're going to send the hips back. From here, we're going to find downward facing dog. We tuck the toes under, and then we're going to send the tailbone up. So shift the weight forward a little. The knees will leave the mat. If this feels really tight along the backs of your legs, keep that bend in your knees. Cast your gaze forward, take a deep breath in. On your exhale, we're going to walk the feet up and we're back in a forward fold. Maybe keep the knees bent here. On your next inhale, press heavy through your feet and rise up, reach the arms overhead. That was your sun salutation. We're going to go through it one more time. Option to keep those deep bends in the knees or to straighten them out just a little bit. So If that was your first sun salutation or two, or first one or two since your operation, maybe keep those modifications that we just did. If you're feeling pretty open and you want to try something a little different, here we go. So inhale, arms reaching overhead. Exhale, hands down to heart center. Inhale, reach them overhead again. On your exhale, forward fold. Remember, you can place that deep bend in your knees here as you fold forward. The head hangs, the shoulders hang here. On your inhale, lift halfway, so flat back lengthen. The belly zips. You can have that deep bend in your knees here as well. Chin comes a little closer to the chest. On your exhale, we're going to step or float the feet back for chaturanga. That's where we lower the body. So bending through the knees until the hands come to the mat, stepping the feet back. From here, drop the knees down to the mat. Keep the elbows nice and narrow. You can exhale to lower the body, chaturanga, or remember you can come down one forearm at a time. On your inhale, baby cobra. Elbows close to the body. Give that lift. On your next exhale, lower and then press your way back. So brief all fours, the hips shift back, toes tuck, and we find downward facing dog. Remember, if you need space along the backs of your legs, put that bend in the knees. From here, we're going to walk the feet forward. Last forward fold of our practice. Again, the head hangs, the shoulders melt. You might even find ragdoll where you take opposite elbows in the hands and breathe deeply here. We'll finish our practice by coming down low, coming down to the mat. And then here you have a couple of options. If when you swing your legs to one side of the body, so maybe to the right side, if this feels really accessible, then stay here. If this feels really unstable or something doesn't feel right about it, then you're going to cross both legs. From here, we'll find mermaid arms. So left hand is going to come down to the mat. Right arm reaches, deep breath in. And then exhale now, that hand is going to come down. Opposite arm is going to reach over. So here you can hold on to your ankle. You could hold on to a toe, hold on to your knee, whatever feels nice and stable, and big open stretch on the side body. Softness on your face. So you could have a soft face or closed eyes, unclenched jaw. Now we'll make our way to the opposite side. So your arm is going to come down. If you are cross-legged, maybe take the opposite leg in front now. If you are in mermaid legs, take them to the opposite side of the body. First, we're going to reach left arm up and over. And then sweeping that back down to hold on to toe, ankle, knee. Again, you have options here. And then steady deep breaths. When you're ready, coming back to the center. And now you are finished with phase 3.